It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
Is that you have to be careful what you let inside your head. Because I think all those things you just described, Bo, of people who, when the markets are getting beaten up, things are crazy, the nightly news is just a horror fest, and instead of you reacting going, I just got to shut it down. I just got to shut it down. I just got to start saving and building cash. Sometimes that's not the best course of action. Right. You just need to kind of stop, stand still, let the plan that you've already enacted continue to work for you. And that's what we wanted to cover, is because if you can be careful what you let in your head, you can recognize, because we will, I'm telling you, save this moment and think about it. Go ahead and lock it in your head that fast forward, I don't know when it is. We don't have the crystal ball, but there will be another period where we cross into bear market status. Absolutely. And this was the first year, 2020 was the first year in 12 years that the S&P 500 lost the required 20% to be required to be counted as a bear market.
Yep. But fortunately, this was not the first time that we were here.
No, we have been here before. And what's interesting, I went to a party. Well, it's not really. It was just a few neighbors getting together. I think you had to, especially in these unique times, you tell people you went to a party and they're like, what is he doing? No, a few neighbors invited us over, went over there, and I found out this is always the biggest shock for me is when neighbors let us know that they've been listening to our show. Yeah. So, and he was trying to tell a few of the other neighbors why he's been so enamored with the show is that he says, Brian has a crystal ball. He predicted some things. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, no, didn't you, back in 2002, didn't you predict the recovery of the markets? And I was like, oh, you watched that show. Because here's the thing. I used to write columns for the local newspaper down in South Atlanta. And if you remember in the dot-com bubble, that downturn started around March of 2000, and we didn't hit full recovery until around November of 2002. So it dragged on not for a month, 2 months, 6 months like this year. It dragged on for a few years. Sure. But people, as you can imagine, by the time we're in year 3, people were starting to panic. Yep. Are markets never going to recover? And that's when I wrote the column of what you should know in uncertain markets.
And look at the date on that, October 3rd of 2002.
So I wrote this in 2002, and you can't see it because it's so tiny, but I'll just let you know. Right there on that second column, about halfway down, I shared that if you can be patient, when the market hits its bottom point, 12 months in the future, it averages making 26.2% from that low point in the markets. Yep. So that... And what's interesting, it blew that out of the water because when I wrote this column, we were within a month, just a few weeks from hitting the dead bottom of the dot-com bubble. And, and that's people are like, wow, did you have a crystal ball? How did you know? And I'm like, because I've been here before.
Done it before.
We've all experienced these type of things. Breathe deep. I want you to look around so it won't be a pandemic. That's the part that changes. You never know what's going to freak the markets out. This was the dot-com bubble. We had a housing crisis of the Great Recession. This has been a pandemic. That part will change, but the behavioral aspect will not change. You will recognize we've been here before. So fast forward to the year 2020.
Yep.
New York Times reaches out, says, Brian, we're writing an article because things are crazy once again with the markets. Do you have some thoughts that we can share? Because a lot of people, this is the first time they've experienced a financial crisis. So this article came out March 15th of 2020. Yep. And if you read my quote there, Bo, I've got bad eyes now, so I'm going to let you read it.
Allow me to read it. It says, this downturn does not feel any different to me than any other periods of panic and wild swings. Whenever I hear new paradigm or this time it's different, I internally smile and know that we are humming the same song and that I have been here before.
So, I mean, guys, do you recognize it? By the way, here's what's funny. We did show prep this morning. I said, we've been here before, and I wanted to do the 2002. And you go, isn't that what you said in the New York Times column and article?
Think the advice doesn't change. I mean, this was the advice that you were giving nearly 20 years ago. It's the same advice now because history has a wonderful way of repeating itself. So like I said, it'll be a different flavor and there'll be different nuances to it. But if you can put together that mindset, that psychology, that behavior that is tried and true and tested through time, you can set yourself up to handle whatever the market throws at you.
So here's what you need to learn from this. Is I want you, when you're watching the nightly news, or you're watching the financial news, or you're reading a blog, or however you're getting information, ask yourself and separate useful information that you can actually learn from versus just the noise, because that's the thing. There's a lot of emotional things that are out there, but is not useful information. Yep. We've seen that with the pandemic. We've seen it with the political stuff. We've even seen it with some of the social injustices that we're working through. There's a lot of things that are meant to get your eyes and ears because of the emotional play, not because it's useful information to help you make better decisions in your household.
So we thought, let's show you sort of one more illustration that we hope is kind of useful noise that will prepare you for whatever the next thing is. Whenever there is the next downturn, whenever there's the next thing that's scary, whenever there's the next uncertainty, we just want you to kind of remember this illustration. Now, what this shows is a history of market ups and downs as reflected in the S&P 500 from 1926 all the way through December of 2017. So this doesn't even have 2020 in it. So if you're out there on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, any of the audio places, go check out YouTube and look at this chart, because what it shows is two things: how severe market downturns are and how long they last, and that's contrasted directly with how robust the subsequent bull market is and how long the bull market lasts. And when you look at the chart like this, you're thinking, man, there's so much more up. The up is so much better than the down. The up lasts so much more than the down. I don't need to worry about the down. I just need to make sure that I'm invested when it goes back up. It's not about timing the market. It's about time in the market. And that's what I think this shows.
When I see this graph, this reminds me, takes me back to when I was probably 6-year-old Brian Preston, and I was sick in the doctor's office, and they tell you the only way you can get better is if you take a shot.
Okay.
When you are, or think about even fast forward to 18-year-old Brian, or even 22 or 23-year-old Brian.
We made it through your entire childhood.
No, I know. But listen to this. Because anybody who's scared of needles, and like that, you find out when you propose to your wife that they're going to take a blood sample. You have to do some blood. I don't even think they do that anymore. But back then, they did some blood tests before you could get married. It was weird. Y'all looking at me like I'm crazy. Anybody older will know what I'm talking about. I don't know if that's because they're trying to make sure I'm not related to my wife or what, but they used to take a blood test before you got married to get your marriage certificate or license, whatever it was. And I had a huge fear of needles.
Sure.
Back then. And I still don't love it. I try not to show people I'm scared when I get blood and other things. I just kind of look at it. But it's funny, after sometimes you have to take a shot. It's just like right now, we know that there's a vaccine that's coming out, and there's going to be a shot involved with it. And I think people will have, I'm not going to get into all the discussion on the vaccine, but just the shot, the needle component of it, people are always fearful of that. But I think after you look back on it from the moment, you go, wow, that just wasn't as bad as I remember thinking it was. And that's exactly what's going on with the financial markets here, is that we will all have this fear of the pain that downturns create. But then when you get some context and actually look at the good that comes from being a long-term investor, it kind of makes you look at yourself and go, what was I so worried about?
Silly, yeah.
I mean, so that's the big things that I like you to do. And let me go ahead and give you some tools. These are emotional tools, because we all get overwhelmed sometimes because it's kind of relentless. You can't escape in this new modern world where we have social media, we have news. I mean, it's not like you can just put down stuff and be away from it. You're going to get exposed to scary stuff all the time that you have to keep out of your head. Here's what I do. If I have hot water in my house, I'm like, you know what? We're going to make it through this. No, I'm serious. Because if you can take a warm shower, you can feed your family, you have food to eat, and you have the ability to go exercise and clear stress out of your brain, I think you'll realize I've got a lot to be thankful for. Absolutely. I'm pretty blessed. Even in this dark, scary time, there's a lot of good going on. And what's interesting is, y'all know, I've shared this. I have that autistic daughter. Sometimes she gets in a rut of being very pessimistic, or she complains about things. The way I try to correct that is whenever we get into this pessimistic track where she's kind of hyper-focusing on that, I'll say, hey, can you tell me one thing you're thankful for? And Bo, you do this too. After team meetings, you will say, hey, everybody go around, tell me one thing you're really thankful for. And nobody says thank you better than Bo Hansen. if you can get into, I'm serious, that's a
Thanks. I
compliment.
appreciate
But
that.
if you can get in the habit of realizing how blessed your life is and trying to take inventory of the positive, guys, you will change that pessimistic mindset to an optimistic mindset. And all the research out there, including our own, you go look at the Everyday Millionaires by Chris Hogan. You can look at Millionaire Next Door. You can even look at our survey of our clients that are millionaires. And it's the lion's share of successful people are optimists.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, one of the things we get so excited about this time of year is doing our annual net worth statement. I know I look forward to it every year because it's numbers and it's figures and it's growth and it's exciting. My wife and I have been talking with this couple in our neighborhood we're really close with. And one of the things that we are going to do this year, as we're like, I'm going to be honest, I do the net worth statement. I just kind of show it to my wife. But one of the things we're going to do, because that's basically taking an inventory of your financial life. It's kind of going through, this is what I own, this is what I owe, these are all the things. We've talked about one of the things we want to do this year is just take an inventory of the things that we're thankful for.
Yeah.
What are the, we're going to have this whole list of all the financial stuff and all that. But what about the other stuff? What are the things that we're truly thankful for? What were the positive things that came out of 2020? And what are the positive things we're looking for in 2021? And I'm kind of excited about doing that exercise. Because frankly, it's not something I've done before and like wrote down. I just have a feeling though, when I write those things down, I'm thankful for this and this went well. And I'm very, I think it's going to be pretty remarkable. So if you're someone who does your annual net worth, let me change that. If you're not someone who does your annual net worth statement, start there. Do it. You should. You're a financial mutant. Get on that train. And if you're someone who's done it for a while and now you just kind of have it down, maybe do an annual inventory of things to be thankful for. I think that could be a really helpful thing, especially this year.
No, that is very full circle. And I think it is a kind of a great way to just share with you guys in closing out is thank you.
Thank you.
We are so thankful for everything you guys have created. This is the little show that could. Because it is. I think about the children's book where you got the little engine that just, I think I can. And we just keep growing. Now, look, I'm starting to get nervous, guys. We're only a few weeks. When this show, it's broadcasting on December 25th, the first time.
Yep.
That's only like 5 or 6 days. So this number will hopefully be close to
move.
100,000. But we're going to need your help, guys. I want you... even if and I've even seen a few shout outs in the YouTube comments where you say, hey, I'm actually a podcast listener. I don't really do YouTube that much, but I know you guys are really trying to reach 100,000 subscribers. So I'm giving you a little love because you guys have been giving it out to me for years. We really want to make it to 100,000. So if you haven't checked it out, go to YouTube, try to give us a subscribe on there. And then I'd be remiss if I'd say right here at the end of the year, financial order of operations. This has been probably, I know it's 2020 is going to be the year of pandemic, but it's also the year that we kind of have turned the concept of financial order of operations into a very deliberate practice that you can go to moneyguy.com/resources, download the free resource we have. And if you find that, hey, I don't exactly know where I fall in the steps, I also think I need a little more accountability on getting to the next step. I might need some homework, some worksheets. We actually have a course. This is our first course. Yep. It's in our inaugural course that the Money Guy team's doing. And here's what the whole purpose of doing courses has been. Just like we have the abundance cycle where I want to come give you free advice for you to learn, apply, grow. So when you reach that level of success, that you'll consider working with us as fee-only financial advisors, fiduciary advisors. Well, the course is to serve as an accelerator so we can get you through that abundance cycle even quicker. It's a win-win situation. So I hope you'll check that out. But guys, 2020, like I said, the hardest working year I've ever experienced. Thank you for being a part of this journey for us. We have big plans for 2021. We grew the family on the content team. We grew the family with Abound Wealth, and we hope to keep that process going. And we couldn't do any of it without the love that you guys have showed us. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll talk to you soon. Money Guy team out.